aspects of this offense that need to get better. Deep ball and third down. So in deep ball, surprisingly, we thought this was going to be a key instrument in this offense. It's nowhere to be found. Thought, of course, you'd be able to just rely on that. Offense may not be consistent, but you have the explosive plays. Well, it's not there. Well, it is something they worked on during the bye week.
Area where we need to improve, whether it is missed opportunities or protection issues or just lack of called vertical plays. I think there's parts of that as well. So I think all things contribute to it, and we need to do a better job in the vertical passing game. I think it was a point of emphasis last week.
So going back to the first talking point of this, lack of called vertical plays. Who's the play caller? I mean, but okay. Don't get me wrong. That kind of sounds like a joke, but no, he brought it up. Lack of vertical shots called. Okay, well, he's the play caller. No need to rehash that point. But he did bring up the point of, and it could be this, it could be that. Well, that's what we've kind of said about this offense. And yeah, you can pick and choose some plays. And look, some plays are there. Some plays aren't there. But it does look like, you can certainly tell, and it might be because it's predictable in some sort, where Florida's going to go for that deep shot. Then you know what? The right tackle olays. Or Lagway seeing ghost, or a receiver can't get open. It's just not, it's never one consistent issue of why Florida can't go deep, can't hit a big play in this offense. It's just, what was the quote out here? A calamity of errors or something I said a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's just, that's what you get with this offense. And this is where, to me, where you see it the most. It's because you got to have time to have those deep plays. And this offense is nowhere near living up to their reputation either. I mean, I think this is where you see it the most. The part where you see, I thought you'd be able to rely on a run game. We've seen some good from Jaden Ball. We haven't seen explosive plays at all in this passing game. So I'm glad it's an emphasis. I'm glad we heard the stuff that they're working on with DJ Lagway. But yeah, this one right here is number one for me because it can at least put you in some games more so than you have been. You may not be consistent, but you might hit those deep plays, those big shots. We haven't seen it at all for something we thought we'd be able to rely on this year.
I mean, I've been harping on it all year long that when they get to 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, they never take a deep shot. They just don't. They try to get the first down so that they have a new set of downs rather than trying to hit the deep ball. And, the problem is that when you take the deep shot on 1st and 10, you now feel like, especially in Napier's offense and Napier's sort of conservative mindset, you feel like you got to get in 3rd and manageable at that point. And to be honest, given the way Lagway's played, it's not like he's getting you out of a lot of 2nd and 10s and 3rd and 10s either. And so, yeah, I'd be hesitant to take a bunch of deep shots on 1st and 10, I think. But obviously that's a running down, so you can run play action and those sorts of things. Florida's fundamental flaw is that they can't run the ball. We can talk all we want about deep shots, but they can't run the ball. They're averaging 2.5 yards per rush when they rush behind their right tackle and right guard. And if you're averaging 2.5, and that's a staple of what they run, is running the running back behind that right side of the offensive line, because then when they fake it with the quarterback coming back on the read option, he's coming back on the left-hand side. They're running for 4 yards per rush behind the left tackle and left guard. This is the 3 games not against Long Island. They're averaging 4.4 yards per rush on the outside. So outside the tackles to the left, they're averaging 5.5 yards per rush on the outside on the right-hand side. So they're more effective running out on the edges than they are running inside. They're more effective running left when they run inside than when they run right. And so if you go back and look at Florida's tendencies, I can almost guarantee you that they probably run more to the right than they do to the left inside. And I don't know whether they run more to the right or the left outside because they rarely run outside. And some of those per yard rushing averages are probably tied with some. I mean, they had an explosive with Jacoby Jackson a couple of weeks ago and those sorts of things. So They will not hit deep balls unless they start taking shots when they get to second and short and third and short. They will not hit deep balls unless they make the defense creep up and respect the run. And they haven't shown a commitment to the run to make the defense move
That's
up.
true.
They haven't shown an ability to run the ball to make the defense creep up. And so the defense has basically been happy showing a heavy box and then dropping out of it into a zone, and Lagway doesn't have anywhere to go with the ball. And the receivers haven't really been able to go out there and do anything all that significant. Though, when you look at things like Pro Football Focus, and again, Pro Football Focus, not the be all end all of statistics, but Aiden Mizell, the highest ranked Gator on Pro Football Focus, by far, he's ranked 87.6. He's got 32 total plays, 32 total snaps over the course of the year.
Apparently, he can't stay healthy. Apparently.
Well, I mean, maybe, but but Jaden Baugh, 168 snaps. He's at 77.1. They've got some offensive linemen who are up there pretty high. They got Austin Barbers at 77.5, and they got Jake Slaughter at 74.7. So we're talking about the left side of the offensive line. Start utilizing that, right? Like, where does it start? It starts with actually throwing a pitch early in the game, not waiting until the second half to do it. It starts with running DJ Lagway in order to get yourself into positive situations. There were, that the power run that they got the first down on the fourth down and then running him on the next play. Those are things the defense doesn't expect because you don't do it very often. And all of a sudden, now that you're going against tendency, I'd love to see him just play action out of the pistol, because everybody knows you run out of the pistol. So get into a second and short, get in the pistol, and fake it. That's how you're going to get the deep shot open. I'd also like to see him actually fake it and roll out as opposed to fake it and having Lagway sit in the pocket. If he's already going to leave the pocket anyway, let's protect him, give him a little bit extra time by having him roll out and giving him a half field read. So there's a lot of stuff they can do, but none of the stuff that I'm saying here is like brain surgery. This isn't like who was it this past week? It was Purdue, who I guess it was maybe 2 weeks ago. Like, Purdue ran like an inside trap and then had the quarterback like run outside, and the running back turned and threw a lateral to the quarterback and he just ran in for a touchdown. There's a play that Nick Knudsen sent me for Tennessee where they had an outside receiver block like it was going to be a screen, and then he slipped, and all of a sudden he was wide open for a touchdown. Like, I get that you have your staple of tighty-whitey plays. And Billy Napier is definitely the dad standing in the shadows where all he's got is the tighty-whities on. But at some point, you have to do something tricky or unpredictable or something off of your base offense. So 2nd and 1 thus far has been an automatic run for a first down for Florida, if they've been able to get the first down. But it's been an automatic running play. Maybe we should go away from that. Maybe we should throw the ball every once in a while in that place. Maybe we should run the ball on first down on the outside, trying to get somebody out there. Maybe you can fake the pitch to the outside, then roll Lagway the other direction with a tight end dragging across the formation for like an easy 8, 9, 10-yard gain. Like, the thing that's really just flummoxed me about all this stuff is in college football, because the hashes are so wide, there's always a guy open. You can't cover everybody and it becomes really apparent if you know how to read defenses, who's going to come open at different times. And you can scheme it open if you know what you're doing. You just need a guy pulling the trigger who can find that guy who's open all the time. But when I look at some of these plays, like, Florida doesn't utilize the fact that you've got those hash marks in order to get guys open coming across. Like, I mean, it should be pretty easy to run a mesh concept against man coverage and have somebody pop open. It should be pretty easy to run Mills against some of the, a Spurrier favorite against some of these defenses that they've been showing with heavy boxes where you're overloading particular areas and making safeties make choices. But they haven't been able to do any of that this year. Look, that's not to say they haven't run it, and maybe the players haven't executed, but I can't remember the last time they threw the ball on 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2. It's always let's get the first down to put us in a position to be able to throw the ball on first down, because now we're in a better position. And it reminds me of a pitcher who refuses to throw a curveball on 2 and 2 because he's afraid to go to 3 and 2 because he might walk the hitter. And it's like, you got to have confidence that once you get to 3-2, you're going to be able to throw a strike and you're going to be able to throw a good strike. Because if you don't have the confidence to do that, you can't throw the breaking ball 2-2. And it turns out everybody knows that pitcher who doesn't have the confidence and isn't going to throw the breaking ball 2-2. And so you have a major advantage because you know what's coming. And same thing, we know the fastball is coming on 0-0. And we know the fastball is coming 2-2. And so does the defense. And until that changes, they can talk about repping deep shots. This is not about, like, again, I'll reference Bud Davis, our buddy there on X.
Well, I'll pull something up too. So go ahead.
He does a really nice job of, I think, describing that play design and play sequencing are two different things. And that play design is, did you get the right spacing? Is the concept solid? Are you able to put the defense in a situation where they have to make choices, where your quarterback can make a read? And if he makes the right read, you're always going to have somebody coming open. Versus play sequencing, which is, do you have the defense looking for something else when you call the play, such that they are able to then, you get more out of it than just the thing that was originally designed, because now the defense is out of position. You make one guy miss, and all of a sudden the 5-yard gain turns into a 50-yard gain. I mean, how many times do you see it against Florida where there's like this little pick play, and all of a sudden there's a guy running free, and it ends up being a 25, 30-yard gain on a throw where the quarterback had to throw the ball like 5 yards in the air? Like, when's the last time Florida had one of those? It's pretty rare, and I think it has a lot to do with sequencing, not necessarily the actual play designs.
All right, well, on that, you mentioned Bud Davis, and he put out today, I let him know I was going to use this, Billy Napier deep route usage. So here's a table Bud put out on X today. And the highlights that he put out on Twitter were 10.7% fewer deep routes in 25 compared to 2022. He says maybe adjusting based on targets plus performance. In 2022, AR and deep targets ripped, so he leaned more on explosives. In 2023, Mertz deep struggled, so more shallow. And then, of course, in 2025, deep targets were struggling so far. I mean, pretty interesting there, Will. I mean, 47.3% deep route percentage in 2022, all the way down to 36.6 right now. I do think some of that is trust. And we talked about trust earlier for DJ Lagway. I'm thinking even for more so Billy Napier. Offensive line doesn't give time for some of these deep shots. Your quarterback is struggling, so I think that too. So that's probably some of it, but it was a point of emphasis. He said it for the bye week. It was a point of emphasis to call more deep shots, figure out what's going wrong so they can have more success in that area. They certainly need it there. But it was a pretty, we didn't know at the time when Bud put this out that deep targets and deep passes were going to be part of the press conference today. But this does show a pretty good start performance from, Billy Napier's 2022 season with AR and Justin Shorter leading the explosive charge to what we see now, not happening. I mean, the only deep explosive pass is the one-handed catch by VB3. And that was a miraculous catch. If that one doesn't happen, there's not one at all. And that's still versus LIU. So that's what we're looking at as far as the deep passing percentage or deep passing plays for the Gators offense right now. And it's alarming to see it in number form like this.
Yeah, I mean, look, and Texas knows this is what Florida's been working on.
Yeah,
like Texas is Texas is going to take one or two tacks here. They might just sit in that heavy box zone and say, "Hey, we'll see." But I'm going to guess early on that they're going to take a chance. And I think they can probably get the knockout blow if they get a pick a Lagway. So I think they're going to show that. And then when Florida gets in a position where they think they're going to take a deep shot, and again, this is why I think sequencing is so important, because if Florida takes deep shots out of the pistol, they play action fake on first down. Very rarely does it happen on second or third after they've gotten into a position where, a lot of teams tend to take those sorts of shots. Florida
anywhere close to midfield.
Yep. Hopefully they don't run that reverse back to the quarterback trick play that they run all the time. But so I think when Florida gets into position to take that deep shot, I think Texas is going to be ready. And I think they're going to show Lagway something in the secondary that makes him think he's got the shot. And then I think they're going to move out of it right after the snap. And he's got his back turned to the defense as he runs that play action. And that's going to be where the rubber meets the road, right? Where the rubber meets the road is going to be, does he chuck it up into triple coverage like he did against LSU? Or is he going to learn? Is he going to check down and say, okay, now it's time to take that underneath? I have no problem with taking a check down and taking the first down if that's what the defense gives you. If the defense wins the rep and you just have to check it down, take the first down on 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1, and that's what you get, fine. But running a trap or running a dive on 3rd and 1 or a read option where the quarterback's run around the edge for 2.5 yards is essentially saying we're going to play for the next play. And what's going to happen is they're going to do that at some point because this is the way Napier operates. They're going to be in 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1. They're going to get a first down. It's going to be like at Texas's like 46, 47 yard lines. They'll be right close to midfield, like you said. And on that first down, they'll get in the pistol, they'll run a play action. And the question is going to be, 1, is Lagway willing to let the ball go? And 2, is Texas going to stay in the defense that they showed pre-snap so that Florida feels like they, so that what Lagway gets is actually what he thought he got and can take advantage. If I was Texas, I'd bring the blitz to try to speed him up in that particular case, and I'd rotate out. I'd spin the safeties out of playing the coverage that he thinks he's got and put it in something different and say, nope, you're going to have to do this against a defense that you didn't think you were getting pre-snap when we think you're going to take that shot. And, we'll see what Florida does there. My guess is that hopefully the ball lands out of bounds.
Are the two most predictable scenario plays for Napier what you just outlined, the near midfield pistol play action deep shot, or the backed up on your old goal line roll out, pitch it to the tight end?
I mean, I wish we'd see that more often this year because he hasn't been running that much at all either.
But when we have seen it, it's been backed up and deep in their own territory. Like that's
the most predictable for Napier is 3rd and 6. He's running spacing. That's it. He's going to run that stupid spacing play.
Well, I was just talking about where you're at on the field as well.
Well, I mean, so
that's the two that stand out to me the most. So
I mean, yes, I agree with you that those are sort of the standard Napier play calls. But the spacing one is the one that drives me crazy because it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 every time. They run spacing. Mertz was able to run it pretty well. Lagway does not run that play well. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, let's put our guys in a position to succeed. Now we're going to run spacing. And yeah, I mean, it's a sequence thing. There's nothing wrong with spacing. But if the defense knows it's coming and is sitting in the right defense to be able to prevent it, then it's a problem. So we talked all offseason about the hope was that the Florida offense this year could dictate to the opposing defense what it needed to do. That no matter what the defense did, it was going to choose poorly.
Yeah.
But that relies on like having a trust in your quarterback, having a trust in your running game, having a trust in your offensive line that Florida just doesn't have right now. Like 2nd and 1 situations should be when you go for the jugular. It should always be when you go for the jugular. Yeah. Like it should be something where literally you go, oh crap, they knew we were going for it. Dump it off and get the first down. But the guy you're dumping it off to is wide open because the defense was like, oh crap, like, we're gonna prevent him from going deep. Instead, it's like, no, we're going to get the first down and live to fight another day. And you know what you end up with when you do that? You end up with an offense that settles for field goals. You end up with an offense that doesn't have the ability to turn its scoring chances when it gets inside the opponent's 40 into actual touchdowns. Like the magic of Florida's offense last year was not methodically moving down the field and converting into a touchdown. It was DJ Lagway hitting Elijah Badger for 65 yards. Badger somehow getting tackled at the 2-yard line from behind and then punching it in with Jaden Ball 5 times against Kentucky. Like the magic was the throw. The magic was we're going to take these shots. And look, Florida's offense was incredibly inconsistent last year, even under Lagway. The difference is that Lagway averaged 10 yards an attempt because he was averaging something like 17 or 18 yards of completion because he was hitting so many of those deep shots and they were taking them. So like you showed in Bud's numbers, they're not even taking them this year. And is the defense taking it away? Maybe, but then you have to run the ball. And if you can't run it up the middle, then you got to run it to the outside. Like you have to make them Respect the fact that you're going to run the ball. And then when you get into a situation, and again, this is where I get so aggravated, is when you get into a situation where it's 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1, you got to be willing to take the shot. Because if you're not willing to take the shot on 3rd and 1, if you don't think you can convert on 4th and 1, or if you're worried that, you need to get the first down because the defense has to rest because, you'll have to punt if you get stuffed on 3rd and 1, then we need some better 3rd and 1 plays. because when it turns from 3rd and 1 into 4th and 3, it's, because the defense is blitzing like crazy. I mean, again, Miami completely shut them down on a 3rd and 1 right at the end of the game. A little play action out to the tight end, and Florida wins that game. And as goofy as it is to say that Florida, when we made fun of Napier a couple weeks ago, we talked about how close Florida is. Florida is pretty close to being 3-1, but that's because of its defense, not because of anything they've done on the offensive side of the ball. And again, that's what we started this whole episode with: is woohoo! The 8 years of offensive play calling have gotten us to where we are, and we don't like it.
Not at all. Something else we don't like. Will, you mentioned 3rd and 1 a lot there. Problem is, Florida's not in 3rd and 1 a whole lot. The 3rd downs are awful for this Gator offense. We'll get into the numbers, but first, hear from Billy Napier on his thoughts on the 3rd down offense for the Gators.
Yeah, the numbers are a little out of whack in terms of you'd like to play a few more under 7, if that makes sense. Once you get to 7+, the analytics are against you, but you'd like to keep it at 6 or less. 7's even okay, right? But we're definitely a little higher end. And then we've had a couple penalties in some of these situations where we go from 2 to 7 or 1 to 6, and I think that those have been costly. So, I think you're spot on. We keeping 3rd down manageable is important. And then you get on the plus side of the field, you benefit from 2-down approach on occasion. Less exotics when you can run it. But any football team, I don't care who you are, the best in the game, you don't want to be living in long yardage situations. And certainly that's the case each week. It'll be really important this week too.
Will, 3rd down conversion offense, Florida's at 30.9%, about 31%. That is 122nd in the country, 15th in the SEC. Averaging 3rd and 7, and that's about midway in the rankings, just the 44th percentile in game on paper. The website. So 44th percentile, averaging 3rd and 7. And for this offense, as we've seen, that's going to be a problem. Because part of the problem, part of the issue that they're in 3rd and 7 is because the offense is not good. Well, the offense isn't good, so 3rd and 7 is not going to be converted all that many times either. As we've going back to it, living in 3rd and 7, Will, and converting about 31%. That's 122nd in the country, 15th in the SEC.
Yeah, the offense is bad.
Another example of it right there.
I mean, we can only say they're 125th out of 130 FBS opponents in so many ways. Here's what I'll say is I'm just sorting on SEC StatCat. The last 3 games, Florida, when they've had 1 or 2 yards per play, or 1 or 2 yards to gain, they've thrown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 passes. Not one has been more than 20 yards in the air. Only 2 have been 11 to 20 yards in the air. So in the prime time real estate, so the 7 passes and 8 runs in those situations. So one, that tells you pretty crappy. They're only getting in that situation again, the last 3 games, but they're only getting that situation 3, 4, 5 times a game max. But when they do, they're not taking any sort of shots. They're not doing anything to actually put their team in a position to score points. And here's the reality. Like, you can be conservative and you can try to get first downs and do all that sort of stuff. The reason I quote, or the reason I cite yards per play in everything, the reason I used it as the basis of the yards above replacement stat that I put together for quarterbacks, the reason is that when you look historically, and I did this a while back, I plotted for the last 10 years, yards per play on offense versus points scored. And the correlation is so much stronger for that stat than anything else. Better, more red zone percentage, more than, quarterback passing yards, more than rushing efficiency. Like no matter what stat you look at, yards per play is the one that correlates to scoring. And that correlates specifically to explosives, and you have to set up explosives because they don't just grow on trees. Like you got to actually take the explosive when the other team gives it to you. And the fact that they're dumping it off underneath on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2 suggests that they just don't want to take advantage of that. And the fact that they're not going to means I don't see a whole lot changing. I mean, I don't think, after 8 years, Billy Napier isn't going to change his spots here just because a few people got mad at him and yelled at him for being a poor offensive coordinator. He thinks that he's good at it. And, he continues to prove himself delusional, but that's just sort of the way it is.
Yeah, the third set, living in 3rd and 7, that tells me right there. That's just one of the best examples of not being able to run the ball.
Well,
it's something we thought we'd be able to rely on somewhat, even if, with the limitations of Lagway, okay, you can run the ball till he comes around. No, that's why you're 1 and 3 right now, because you can't even do that. And you're living in 3rd and 7 because you just cannot run the ball whatsoever.
Well, and because every time they get any sort of positive play, they have a holding call.
You mentioned that too, yeah.
So then they have to run a screen to get in 2nd and 13s.
Yep.
Then they run the ball to get to 3rd and 9. And it's like at some point you get that holding call, you just got to start chucking it. Right? Yeah. Like what is there to lose at this point? Right? Like there really should be like it should be balls to the wall at this point, right? Like 2nd and 1 should be an automatic deep shot, play action deep shot with maybe a dump off underneath. If they run the ball on 2nd and 1, I'm out. You can't afford.
You're already out.
Well, maybe. Well, yes.
For the game.
Yeah, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make, maybe poorly, but the point that I'm trying to make is Texas is only going to give you a certain number of opportunities to score. And when you have one, you can't just pass it up to get a first down. Like the first down means nothing if you don't actually take the shot, if you don't go after the opportunity. And that's the thing that I think is missing in all this conversation. It was the same thing against Miami. Like you got yourself to 2nd and 1 and 3rd and 1 a few times and you didn't take the shot. And I mean, I literally I think it was after the LSU game. I went back and looked at all of the 3rd downs. Yeah. Cause it was all the interceptions came on 3rd and long, and except for the last one. And the preceding plays were literally like false start, screen pass out to the right, run the ball. Oh, it's 3rd and 12. And now we get an interception, right? Like it was dink and dunk. It was screen passes specifically. It was running the ball in situations where you were just trying to get to manageable. And then the defense was dictating to you what they wanted rather than the other way around. And Florida's going to have to start doing the dictating. Otherwise, it's going to be ugly. And honestly, given that Texas, I think, is just a better team, it's probably going to get ugly anyway. But, we shall see.